Jack here, JBF Music and Guitar Lessons. In this quick guitar tricks we're looking at 10 essential double stop bends and cliches. I'll chuck in some bonus ones along the way just for good measure. Feel free to use the timestamps in the pinned comment and the video description to jump about to whatever part is most relevant to yourself. First up, Uni Bends or unison bends, where you play a note and target that same note but coming in from the bend below. Just remember, if you're on the G and the B strings, the shape changes to this. Bonus tip, these are really good for beefing up single note lines. So say we had something like this. We could play it with uni bends and you get this. Second bonus tip, you can use a semitone for a different vibe. So this is the third example in bar 1 there, and although it starts out incredibly dissonant, I think it just makes the resolution all the more impactful. For this one I just played, it would work well over like a G for a G Lydian type sound. So if we wanted to invoke that, we could do something like... And what's quite cool about this is we can use this trick in a different mode as well. So if we moved it up a semitone, we could get a more tense kind of G Phrygian type sound. So G Phrygian. And if we moved it here. So it's quite cool because that, rather than being the standard uni bend, this one can be used in a really tense way and also quite a relaxed way as well. The next most common double stop in bar 2, we've got an A and a D, where the A is being bent up to a B. So I would suggest using this over a G major. With double stops, try to think about what's happening when the note gets bent and what chord this now suggests. Of course you can use this to create tension, but it's really worth knowing where they sound the most consonant. So that'll be the main focus of this tutorial. Yeah, you can also stick this note in if you want. So rather than just playing these two, we can look at the second example in bar 2 where I've got this 15th fret as well. This will tend to give it a more country or folk vibe, particularly if you pick the notes. In fact, extra bonus tip here, it's a really nice way to follow chords in a blues or kind of a country progression. So say we were going from, what would it be, a G down to an F. We could do this one, go for the G and then for the F. So play those back to back. And that's going to give a really nice outline of the chords as well as a little bit of tension from the kind of implied susses there. The first bend has a D, and I'm bending up the F sharp to the G, suggesting a G major. Alternatively, we could think of the D and the F sharp as a D with the bend creating a D sus4. Similarly, this one, it's a minor third interval, the E to the G, which is being bent into a perfect fourth by pulling on that G at 12th fret up a tone to here. So we could be targeting an A minor with the bend, be these notes, or playing over an E minor and then bending up to give us sus4, oops, type thing. So to recap that idea, bending up a third interval, it could be major like the first one or minor like the second, up to a fourth. Next we have the idea of bending a second up to some sort of third, first of all major. And the next one minor. So the major one here gives us a B, and then we've got a G and the D string when it's bent up. So that suggests a G major, or perhaps an E minor. G major being G, B, and D, E minor being an E, G, and a B. When the note isn't bent, it's given a G sus2. In relation to the E minor, it's probably an E sus4. Then the same idea, but the second bent the minor third with this one here. So unbent, it's a sus2. When bent up, it would be an A minor. This could also give you some pretty interesting ideas over an F sharp diminished triad, but I'll leave that experimentation up to yourselves. Next we've got a fifth, a G to a D, where the D gets bent up to an E. So what's going on here? Well, the way I see it is unbent as a G. It's like a little power chord. And then when bent up, it could be a G add 6, for a bit of a floaty vibe. But since the notes are a G and an E, it could be an E minor or a C major. Just to hit home at the idea that these are really great for following chords. So say we had like a G go into an E minor, back to the G, into the C. And you didn't want to move around much, we could play this over all of that. So we could have this for the G, this for the E minor, back to the G, and then do this for the C. It's unlikely you might encounter chord changes that quick, but if you do, it's great to have these little tricks and tools so you can play over them without, exploding your brain in a matter of seconds. To wrap up this bar, it's a fourth being bent up to a fifth. This can be a bit tricky to do. The way I'm doing it is playing the D string with my second finger, and then I'm bending with my third finger but reinforcing with the first. You might find it more comfortable doing something like that. Just experiment and see what works best for yourself, really, as usual with these sorts of things. So what we're doing here is, the way I see it is we've really got a C with these two notes, and when I'm bending it up, it's probably bending up to a G. You could, if we get into seventh chords, we can get more complicated with what chords we're implying, and we could talk more about sus chords and add chords. But in terms of your basic triads, that's kind of what you're getting. You're getting a C here, and you're getting a G. So the next idea involves bending two notes. You'll notice these notes are being bent by different amounts. A semitone on the B string, and a tone on the G. This might be very easy or quite difficult depending on the setup of your guitar. On this one, fortunately for me, it's fairly straightforward. There's two main things to take away here. You can bend on more than one string, so previously we've just been bending on one string, you can bend on more than one. And you don't have to bend them by the same amount, whether by intent or design or by accident. It's okay to experiment with these things. Also on that note, you can get kind of interesting whammy bar bends using this trick as well. So a lesson card in the top right for a bit more on that. But to analyse this one, when it's bent, it's either a G major or a B minor, as the notes are a B and a D when bent to pitch. So bonus tip. If this chord stuff is a bit confusing, just think about a chord shape. So a G major, for example, G major bar chord, you can see those notes are in it. Or a B minor bar chord, again, both those notes are in it. So let's use this trick and identify what chords these two notes, the A and the C sharp, could suggest from the start of the double stop. You might want to pause the video for a second to give yourself a bit of time to think. But if not, let's just see what we can do. Okay. So, first thing that springs to mind for me is an F sharp minor. I suppose if you barred it, don't know if I can get up here. Yeah, I'd have that. And the other one that springs to mind is an A major. So if you want another way of targeting G major, we could do something like this. So we've got an augmented fourth going up to a perfect fifth. We've got a G on the E string, and the C sharp to D on the B string. Bonus tip, this would work really well over an E Dorian backing, a lesson card on the top right to see an idea that uses this in action. On the topic of Dorian, we can bend these notes, the A and the C sharp, up by a quarter tone for some cool raunch. It might be the case that the B string will move up a quarter tone, whereas the G might move up a semitone. And that's totally fine. We're going for a dirty effect here, and this B flat, this note is going to be Dorian's blues note, so it'll still sound pretty cool. And finally, we've got this. And as a final bonus tip, different fingerings. You don't have to play the strings directly next to each other, they can be apart like this. There I'm just hybrid picking it using my middle finger on the B string and the plectrum on the D. You could strum through it, but just make sure that that G string is muted out by one of your fingers. So I see this as a D. It's like an F sharp and a D, and then going to a G major being a G and a D. You could also use it on like a B minor going to a G major as well. Those were some essential double stop bends. This has been Quick Tricks, that's the playlist there. If you want to check out some essential slide licks, look at this video here. If you've enjoyed it and want to stay up to date with the channel, hit subscribe, share, like, comment and enable notifications with that little bell on the side if you feel so inclined. Cheers guys.